皆様、本日は公益財団法人笹川平和財団主催セミナーテロリストの脱過激化と社会復帰バングラデシュの実践からにご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。私、本日司会を務めます笹川平和財団第2グループ高澤陽子と申します。開会に先立ちまして皆様にご案内申し上げます。まずご登壇予定でありましたダッカ首都警察対テロ国際犯罪対策庁長官兼副警察長アサドゥザマン様は今回来日が叶いませんでしたため、本日は代理といたしまして対テロ国際犯罪対策庁研究開発局局長のアニスール・ラシッド様にご登壇いただきます。本イベントは事前にご登録いただいているメディア関係者の方々を除き、撮影、録画、録音することはできません。本日はお手元のレシーバーを介しまして同時通訳をご利用いただくことが可能となっております。お手元のレシーバーはチャンネル1が日本語、チャンネル2が英語となっております。会場内での喫煙はご遠慮くださいますようお願いいたします。携帯電話、スマートフォンは電源をお切りいただくか、マナーモードに設定いただき、音が鳴らないようにご配慮をお願いいたします。また、会場内でのご通話はご遠慮ください。最後に、本イベントの模様は後日、笹川平和財団の YouTube チャンネルで公開いたします。開会は5時を予定しております。お席にて今しばらくお待ちくださいませ。 それでは定刻となりましたので始めさせていただきます。本日は大変お忙しい中、公益財団法人笹川平和財団主催セミナーテロリストの脱過激化と社会復帰バングラデシュの実践からにご来場いただき誠にありがとうございます。まずはじめに本日ご登壇予定でありましたダッカ首都警察対テロ国際犯罪対策庁長官兼副警察長アサドゥ・ザマン様は今回来日が叶いませんでしたため、代理といたしまして対テロ国際犯罪対策庁研究開発局局長のアニスール・ラシッド様からご挨拶をいただきます。ラシッド様、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you for giving me the floor to have a few words before the distinguished guests and colleagues. As the moderator told you, that due to some unavoidable situation back in Bangladesh, the Chief of Counterterrorism and Transnational Crime of Dhaka Metropolitan Police, Mr. Mohammad Asaduzzaman Bipemba, couldn't attend this auspicious occasion. So I, Habib Anisur Rashid, DC Research and Development, Counterterrorism and Transnational Crime of Dhaka Metropolitan Police, is now read out his opening remarks. Honorable President, though we made the President moments earlier for some busy schedule, he's not here now. Even then, we'd like to mention Mr. Atushi Tsunami, President Sasakawa Peace Foundation, Dr. Naonori Kusakabe, Associate Professor, College of Intercultural Communication, Rikyo University, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed, Executive Director, Center for Alternatives, Bangladesh, Ms. Afsana Mimi, Cultural Counselor, Mr. Saidul Islam, Psychological Counselor, Mr. Ali Ashraf, Doctor, Professor, Dhaka University, Mr. Niloy, Professor, Dhaka University, Mr. Tomoko Ozi, Editor and Senior Staff Writer, the My Nishi newspapers, Professor Hiroshi Sutomi, Special Appointed Professor, College of Community and Human Services, Rikyo University, and the distinguished guests. Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. It is an honor to be here today to discuss the vital initiatives taken by Bangladesh in the realm of countering and preventing violent extremism. I extend my gratitude to the Sasakawa Peace Foundation for organizing this seminar and for their unwavering support in our de-radicalization and rehabilitation efforts for last 3 years. Dear audience, extremism is a growing threat in the contemporary world, but there is no common solution to this global problem. In the last decade, a hard approach was prioritized to counter terrorism. However, key global actors have come to a consensus that only a hard approach can't solve the problem. Rather, a smart approach combining both hard and soft measures is essential to prevent violent extremism. Aligning with this understanding, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, declared a zero-tolerance policy against terrorism and violent extremism in 2009. She reiterates Bangladesh's stance of zero tolerance towards terrorism at the UN General Assembly and at other global forums regularly. Therefore, in aligning with the government's zero tolerance policy, CTTC has adopted multidimensional approach in preventing and countering radicalization leading to violent extremism. Apart from capacity building of counterterrorism forces and strengthening hard approach, CTTC has initiated the whole of society approach in preventing radicalization, which include raising awareness against radicalization and extremism, ensuring targeted approach against the vulnerable youth, de-radicalization and rehabilitation of former terrorists to reintegrate them into the mainstream of the society. With a view to gaining enhanced knowledge of terrorism, CTTC has completed a number of academic practitioner combined researches and finished compilation of a good number of volumes of readers on violent extremism in Bangladesh. As a result, Bangladesh has been consistently improving in the Global Terrorism Index since 2016 and onwards. Since 2016, she got an improvement in the ranking and scoring has been evident. Bangladesh ranks 43 in the Global Terrorism Index in 2023, indicating that the threat of terrorist attacks is slim to none these days. Nevertheless, there is no place for complacency, as terrorism is a fluid thing and unpredictable and even borderless. Recognizing that counterterrorism is a complex and long-term process, CTTC must continue to strengthen its whole of society approach in the days to come. Distinguished presence, Bangladesh strongly condemns the horrific and inhuman terrorist attack on 1st of July 2016 at the Holy Artisan Bakery, Gulshan, Dhaka, where 7 respected Japanese citizens lost their lives. The victims in this attack had been contributing to the development of Bangladesh. We always pay homage to their supreme sacrifice. Here, I would proudly like to mention that CTTC investigated the Holy Artisan attack case successfully and brought all the masterminds of the attacks to justice within the shortest possible time, which is a remarkable example in the history of counterterrorism in the world. Based on the successful investigation by CTTC, the learned court sentenced death penalty to 7 violent extremist operators. In combating terrorism, CTTC always follows the principles of rule of law and protection of human rights. Learned participants, we all know that Bangladesh has recognized that a comprehensive rehabilitation and reintegration process is essential for effectively mainstreaming former violent extremist offenders. Before implementing these initiatives, we conducted through assessments involving academicians and city practitioners to evaluate the feasibility and impact of R&R in our country. Our government collaborated with various international organizations and think tanks to conduct action-oriented research, resulting in the development of practical modules for R&R implementation. Dear Presence, since its inception in 2016, the Counterterrorism and Transnational Crime CTTC of Dhaka Metropolitan Police has considerably succeeded in arresting violent extremist operator suspects and prosecuting them through the criminal justice system. In line with this countering violent extremism strategy, CTTC has recognized the need to introduce a strategy for the de-radicalization and rehabilitation of violent extremist offenders in Bangladesh. It has commissioned studies with the Center for Alternatives and implemented a pilot program for the de-radicalization and rehabilitation of VEOs in Bangladesh. Under the government of Bangladesh project named the Project for the Construction of Counterterrorism and Transnational Crime Prevention Center of Bangladesh Police, the Bangladesh Police has successfully de-radicalized individuals through CTTC initiatives and in prison settings. There are 5 areas of intervention that would be later on discussed by our honorable councillors and the chief and the executive director of Center for Alternatives. We target 3 categories of VEOs: released convicts, those currently in prisons, and at-risk groups. Our program involves both individual and group counseling sessions, each batch covering 6 to 8 personnel and attending 90 hours of intense counseling. After the 5D counseling sessions, ex-VEOs whom the counselors believe are ready to graduate move on to the next session, which is the vocational training. Learned Presence, for the past 3 years, as I mentioned before, the Sasakawa Peace Foundation has partnered with CTTC and the CA researchers to build a peaceful and tolerant society in Bangladesh. The CTTC-SPFCA collaboration has produced 2 cutting-edge research reports, a needs assessment report and a training manual for the de-radicalization and rehabilitation of VEOs in Bangladesh. Building on the first 2 phases of collaboration, the SPF-CTTC-CA initiative has begun pioneering work for a 5-dimensional counseling services for 3 categories, as I mentioned. The support from SPF has been instrumental in our de-radicalization efforts, complementing the government project. We are grateful for SPF's continuous support in these programs. However, we request their further assistance to continue the de-radicalization program and provide advanced counseling for ex-violent extremist offenders who haven't yet graduated from their previous counseling sessions. We look forward for SPF's further assistance in enhancing and expanding our rehabilitation efforts across Bangladesh. Finally, I extend my heartfelt thanks to SPF for their continuous support in our endeavors. Your collaboration has been exemplary in our success thus far. As we move forward, we seek further support and cooperation from SPF in creating a safer and more inclusive society. For that, the proposed Bangladesh Center for Tolerance and Diversity is needed to promote tolerance, diversity, and harmony while running de-radicalization and rehabilitation programs. The center may offer workshops, educational programs, counseling, and community events focused on these goals. Establishing this center requires seeking partnerships and securing funding, particularly from the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. These collaborations will be essential for the center's development and success. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your continued collaboration in this borderless mission. Thank you all.
ありがとうございました。それではこれよりプログラムに移らせていただきます。ここからは笹川平和財団第2グループ長の中山真帆が進行いたします。ご発表いただきます日下部先生、アハマド様、ミミ様、イスラム様、壇上へとお進みください。
皆様本日はご来場いただきましてありがとうございます。笹川平和財団の中山です。今回まず主催者といたしまして、バングラデシュからいらしてくださったお客様、今ご挨拶いただきましたアニス・ラシッド副長官、そして、脱過激化事業を現地で実践されているイムティアズ・アフマド先生はじめ5名のカウンセリングチームの方々、本当にありがとうございます。今回7月に入って、ダッカで、政府職の割り当て制度をめぐって、学生のデモが緊迫化しまして、一時はバングラデシュ全土でインターネットが遮断されるという事態になりまして、私ども皆様がいらっしゃれるかどうか非常にハラハラしていたんですけれども、最終的に、CTTC の長官でいらっしゃいますアサド・ザーマンさんの本日は叶いませんでしたが、6名の皆様がご来日くださいました。私たち笹川平和財団では2021年から脱過激化事業に関心を持ちまして、インドネシアとバングラデシュをフィールドにさまざまな関係者の方々と議論を始めまして、バングラデシュにおきましては他のドナーのがどういった事業を支援しているのか、そして現地でどのような取り組みがあるのかということをマッピングした結果、さまざまな支援があるけれども、まだどの団体も政府あるいは当局、警察と一緒に事業ができている団体はないということが分かりまして、そこから議論を始め、 警察、CTTC と連携しながら、しかし、シビルソサエティ研究者の方々にも企画に入っていただいて、センター・フォー・オルタナティブと CTTC と SPF のコラボレーションという形で事業がスタートしました。その取り組みについて本日皆様と共有できること大変嬉しく思います。それではバングラデシュの実践についてお話を伺う前に、まずはじめに立教大学異文化コミュニケーション学部准教授の日下部直則先生にバングラデシュにおけるテロ、かっこつきのテロリストあるいはテロリズムですがについて解説いただきたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いいたします。立教大学の日下部直則と申します。ちょうど8年前の7月にですね、ダッカ襲撃テロ事件という日本人も亡くなられる事件が起きてですね、今年で8年になります。で、この8年前にもまさにここでですね、お話しさせて解説させていただいたことを、今でもですね、昨日のことのように思っております。今日はですね、これから詳しい概要についてはですね、バングラデシュからのゲストの方がお話ししていただきますので、私の方はですね、バングラデシュのこれまでの2010年代のですね、現状についてですね、お話しさせていただきたいと思います。スライドの方をお願いしてもよろしいでしょうか。まずですね、バングラデシュについて簡単にですね、ご説明させていただきたいんですけれども、バングラデシュ、西側にですね、インド、それからパキスタン、アフガニスタンというふうにですね、つながって、地続きでつながっております。東側はですね、ミャンマー、それから北側にですね、インド北東部ということで、ある意味で紛争の火種がですね、くすぶっているところとですね、陸続きでつながっている、ホットスポットになっているエリアでもあります。で、バングラデシュなんですけれども、ご存知の通り、人口が非常に多いという1億7000万人ですね。人口密度はもう世界でもシンガポールのような都市国家を除けば世界一というふうに言われています。で、マジョリティの宗教はイスラムなんですけれども、1億5000万人以上のイスラム教徒がですね、多数派を占めています。この数はですね、インドネシア、パキスタン、それからインドに次いでですね、世界でも4番目にイスラム人口が多い国としても知られています。で、バングラデシュなんですけれども、2回の大きな独立を経験しています。一つはですね、英領インドからのですね、パキスタンとしての独立ですね。で、それから1971年にですね、今度はこのパキスタンからですね、バングラデシュは独立することになるわけなんですけれども、このパキスタンからの独立戦争の際はですね、非常に悲惨なですね、戦争だったというふうに言われていますけれども、この時にですね、独立をするのをですね、パキスタン側について独立を阻止しようとした勢力というのがですね、そういう人もいましてですね、このパキスタンからの独立に対して反対してですね、した勢力の人たちとですね、独立を進めた人たちの間でですね、これは大きなこの戦争の記憶としてですね、今でもですね、その社会の中にですね、非常に大きな分断の記憶として今残っています。この悲惨な独立戦争なんですけれども、この時にパキスタン側についたのか、それとも独立を推進したのかというのがですね、一つ大きな分断の記憶として残っています。で、そのですね、パキスタン側についた人たちですね、パキスタンからバングラデシュが独立しようとしたときに、パキスタンの側について独立を阻止しようとした、具体的にはどうしたかというと、独立推進派の人を虐殺したりとか、ヒンドゥー教徒を虐殺したりとかですね、女性をレイプしたりとかした人たちを裁く裁判所をですね、国際犯罪法廷というものをですね、2008年に現在の与党であるアーミー連盟が法廷をですね、設置します。で、この法廷で裁かれるのがですね、イスラム主義の政党のリーダーたちですね。イスラム主義保守政党のリーダーの人たちがですね、その裁判にかけられたこともあってですね、その支持層の人たちがですね、大規模な抗議運動を展開します。で、それによってですね、非常に多くの暴動、それから治安部隊との衝突で多くの人が亡くなるという事態になるわけなんですけれども、一つですね、ちょっと複雑なので繰り返しますけれども、政権がですね、現在の与党のアーミー連盟が、戦争時のですね、独立戦争の時に 独立に反対してパキスタン側についた人たちのリーダーを裁くですね、そういった裁判を設置したと。でそれに対して反対運動が、イスラム保守の側から起きる。でそれに対しまた別の動きがあってですね、この戦争犯罪の裁判はですね、もっと厳格により厳しく進めるべきなんだという運動が一方で起きます。これシャハバーグ運動と呼ばれるんですけれども、これは独立するときに独立派に独立に反対してた人たちの中のリーダーにですね、もっと厳罰を課すべきなんだという運動ですね。でそれがですね、シャハバーグ運動、一般市民の人たちがですね、路上に出てですね、これはもっとより厳罰を与えるべきなんだという運動がもう一方の流れとして起きます。今度このですね、もっと厳罰を与えるべきなんだというこのシャハバーグ運動に対しても、やはりイスラム保守のですね、ジャマーティ・イスラーミーのようなですね、イスラム保守の政党がですね、今度はそのシャハバーグ運動はけしからんと、それこそ反イスラムなんだというですね、主張でですね、市民運動を今度は非難するわけですね。でこのですね、じゃあ今度はですね、このシャハバーグ運動を阻止するために、今度はですね、チッタゴンからダッカに向かって数十万人のイスラム保守の勢力の人たちがラリーする、行進するといったですね、事態も起きました。ここまで来てお分かりのようにですね、この戦争犯罪をめぐってはですね、この裁判をですね、推進しようという側とそれを阻止しようとする側でですね、非常に大きな分断が社会において見られたということになります。でこれと同時期にですね、いわゆる括弧付きのテロリズムというのが増加していくことになります。じゃあ誰に対するテロリズムなのかというとですね、一つはブロガーですね。これブロガーというと日本の皆さんあまり馴染みがないんですけれども、バングラデシュはですね、インターネット上で自分の自らの主張をするという、政治的な主張をしていく人たちっていうのが非常に多いわけなんですけれども、その中でもですね、ラディカルな過激なイスラム思想を批判するような書き込みを行っていた人ですね、その人たちが殺害されるという事件が、多発します。それから外国人をターゲットとしたですね、襲撃事件もこの時期に増加していきます。残念ながら日本人も含むですね、3人の外国の方がですね、殺害されています。でさらにですね、宗教マイノリティに対する事件もこの時期に増加していくことになります。バングラデシュにおいて宗教マイノリティというとシーア派、それからアフマディア、それからヒンドゥー教寺院ですね、こういったところでですね、無差別テロ事件が起きるのもこの時期になります。こういったですね、このイスラム保守に過激派によるものとみられるテロリズムが増加していく。でそれにしてですね、多くの方が亡くなるわけなんですけれども、政権与党もですね、裁判の手を緩めることなくですね、実際にですね、先ほどの国際戦犯法廷でですね、イスラム保守のリーダーを死刑として執行していきます。これによってですね、さらにイスラム保守の側の過激派の人たちの運動というのがですね、激化していくことになったわけです。でここでですね、2016年のダッカ襲撃テロ事件というのが起きてしまいます。この流れが全てここにつながっているわけではありませんが、時系列的にはですね、このタイミングでですね、バングラデシュで初めてですね、外国人に対する無差別テロが起きた事件になります。無差別テロとしては初めての事件になります。民間人20人が亡くなるという、日本人その中に7人が含まれているということで、日本でもですね、大々的に報道された事件になります。この事件はですね、外国人のイスラム教徒以外の対象とした無差別事件として扱われました。で IS のですね、思想に共感する若者が実行犯として逮捕されています。でこの事件が起きたのがですね、グルシャン地区というですね、富裕層地区だったこともあってですね、いわゆるそのテロというと貧しい人たちとかですね、イスラムの保守の人たちがやっている、イメージがあるかもしれませんけれども、非常に富裕層の大学生も中にはいたんですけれども、そういった人たちが実行犯の中に入っていたということですね。それからですね、国内、武装主義勢力のネオ JMB という、JMB というのは古くからある武装勢力なんですけれども、 それの分派であるネオ JMB がですね、関与したというふうに考えられています。このようにですね、与野党対立に端を発してですね、戦争犯罪の裁判のようなものがあってですね、国内の分断が高まっていった、その時期にですね、こういった大規模なテロが起きてしまったわけです。これに対してですね、バングラデシュ政府はですね、先ほどもお話にありましたけれども、ゼロトレランスポリシーを導入してですね、そしてですね、CTTC、テロ対策の特殊部隊を設立します。でこの成果がですね、出てですね、それ以降ですね、テロ事件というのは急激に減少しました。急激に減少してですね、これまでもですね、2016年以降は外国人を狙ったテロも起きておりません。このグラフを見ていただいても分かると思うんですけど、2016年をピークにですね、急激に減少しているのがお分かりになるかと思います。そういった意味でもですね、本日いらしていただいてますけれども、CTTC が果たした役割というのは非常に大きいというふうに考えています。ここまでのですね、流れにプラスしている社会的な状況も少しお話ししていきたいなと思うんですけれども、まずですね、ここまで述べてきたようにですね、2010年代にテロが増加した、まず政治的要因としては、今申してきたようにですね、戦争犯罪法廷があったと。ここでイスラム主義政党の指導者がですね、裁判にかけられたのでですね、保守の人たちに反発を招いてしまった。それからですね、政治的なこの与野党の対立というのも激化していったという時期にあります。で社会経済的な要因としてはですね、この若者の失業問題というのが非常に大きな問題となっています。高学歴、大学卒業したりしてもですね、就職になかなかできないような若者たちの不満というのがですね、過激思想の温床になったと考えられています。それから経済格差ですね、バングラデシュ非常に高い経済成長を誇っているんですけれども、この富の偏在に対するですね、社会的な不満というのも、一方で高まっているわけです。国際的な要因としてはですね、IS、それからアルカイダ系の影響と書きましたけれども、国際テロ組織はですね、バングラデシュを新たな活動拠点としてですね、ターゲットとしていったのもこの時期になります。IS の候補地であるダービックにおいてもですね、今度はバングラデシュをですね、ターゲットにしようといったことがですね、書かれたりも、しました。それからグローバル化の影響ということで、実はバングラデシュどこに行っても今スマホでですね、インターネットが入ります。そうしますとですね、インターネットのこの普及によってですね、国境を越えたですね、過激思想のアクセスというのが非常に容易になった、そういった時期でもあります。治安上の課題としてはですね、やはり2010年代急激にこのテロ関係の事件が増えましたので、治安機関のですね、対応が追いつかなかったということもあるかと思います。バングラデシュ、穏健なイスラム国家として知られていましたので、これだけですね、テロが起きるなんてことは誰も思っていなかったです。誰も思っていない状態で急激に増えましたので、なかなか治安機関もですね、対応が追いつかなかったという背景があります。それから国境管理の問題としてですね、バングラデシュ、広い国土をインドとミャンマーに接しているわけなんですけれども、やはりですね、武装勢力の移動、それから武器の移動、資金の移動というのを取りめるのがですね、やはり陸路でつながっていると容易ではないという背景もあります。教育の問題としてはですね、マドラサの影響というのは、マドラサイスラム学校ですけれども、やはり一部のマドラサがですね、過激思想の温床になっていると。これが直接テロにつながるかどうかは別としてもですね、そういったですね、イスラムの過激な思想を容認する土壌というのはできてしまったのではないかと。でこういったマドラサなんですけれども、中東に出稼ぎに行った労働者からの送金ですね、これによってですね、実はどんどん公民マドラサの数が増えたのもこの2010年代の特徴になります。また既存の教育システムですね、マドラサじゃない既存の教育システムにおいてもですね、やはり批判的な思考をですね、十分に育成できていない、これは日本の教育もですね、言えたところではないところもあるわけなんですけれども、ディスカッションであったりとか批判的思考を学ぼうっていうところがですね、まだ十分にカリキュラム化されていなかったというところがあります。これは最後になりますけれども、最後移動しました。これが最後になってますかね、もしかして。ありがとうございます。最後、メディアなんですけれども、やはりソーシャルメディアの影響ですね。やはりこのソーシャルメディア、SNS がですね、過激思想の拡散であったりとか、それからリクルートにですね、使われるといったことがあります。 それから最後になりますけども、これコロナウイルスの外出制限の影響ということで、これは最近よく言われることではあるんですけれども、武装勢力もですね、コロナ禍において活動がオンライン化していきます。オンライン化していきます。同時にですね、バングラデシュでも外出制限しましたので、自宅にこもるですね、個人、若者のですね、思想の過激化というのが進行しているというふうに考えられています。ただですね、こういった背景がありながらも、2010年代、それから現代に至るまでですね、テロをですね、抑え込むことにですね、バングラデシュというのは今まで成功していると言えます。ただ成功したということはですね、それだけ今度は過激な思想に染まってしまった人たちを今度はどうやってですね、脱過激化していくのかという取り組みがですね、今このタイミングで求められているのだと思います。それでは早口になりましたけれども、私の発表は以上になります。ありがとうございました。
坂部先生、ありがとうございました。バングラデシュのテロ事件、さまざまな要因で生まれてきているのがよくご理解いただけたかと思います。続きまして、それではバングラデシュから、バングラデシュチームに現地での実践を発表いただきたいんですが、まずセンター・フォー・オルタナティブ・エグゼクティブ・ダイレクターのイムティアズ・アフメッド先生にご発表をお願いいたします。イムティアズ先生はこれまでに57冊の著書と20冊の研究書を執筆教授編集されていて、集団暴力、暴力的過激主義、ロヒンギャ危機に関するさまざまなプロジェクトを統括されています。このプロジェクトの全体の企画統括をしてくださっています。ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. The chair of the session, Ms. Maho, my fellow panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and my friends. Let me begin by saying that whatever I'll be presenting is a teamwork. We had a good number of researchers working with me, and here I have two young researchers, Professor Ali Ashraf and Professor Niloy. Both are my former students, and that helps also in many ways. But there have been other members as well. Some could not attend. And of course, there are over 30 to 40 counselors. And we do have two leading counselors here. They will also give their presentation. So let me give you a sense of where we are and what we did and what is the project about. Well, the project, as you can see, is on DRAD, but we went through a process of coming to the point where we are, and I will try to give in next 9 minutes or 10 minutes some sense of that. Now, if you look at the screen, you will see there was a phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. When we were approached by Sasakawa Foundation, Ms. Maho, I remember, they were very keen on working on DRAD. And our understanding was that we need to first have a mapping. Now, the reason why we started the phase 1, because my center and the CTC, we already had, prior to Sasakawa Foundation entering this project, we had a collaboration with CTC on research, which is now over 6 years. And we have already published more than 12 to 13 volumes. 2 more volumes are already in pipeline, and more are to come. So we were well grounded in our research with CTC. And the reason that, why that happened was the government really has a zero tolerance policy. And they also have a law where they pointed out that if we are releasing all these violent extremists, because at one time you have to release them, but don't release them without having gone through a DRAD program. So de-radicalization program is part of a legal exercise, if I can say. So the CTC approached me. I've been working on city issues for many, many years. And the chief of CTC at that time is now the head of a special branch, Mr. Monirul. He comes to me and he says, Prof, can you help us develop this? And it will be your cup of tea. We are not going to interfere. Do it as intellectually clean and intellectually positive way and an objective way. And I thought, wow, what a free hand one can give. So when Sasakawa Peace Foundation approached us, the ground was already laid down in relationship with our CTC, which was well researched, very robust. So we started with phase 1, and that is to map the VOs that are there in Bangladesh. And again, CTC helped us to look into the raw data, into the raw files, allowed our researchers to go into the prison to talk to the to the imprisoned violent extremists, and that helped us to get a sense of the number of violent extremist offenders in Bangladesh, the gender, the demographic pattern, the state of education, all the composition one can think about. So we mapped it, and we were quite sure of who to approach and what to approach. So, in terms of research, I think the phase 1 really helped us. And then again, there was a kind of a pressure from the government and also from Sasakawa that how about starting the counseling? And we said, no, we need a manual to begin with. And that brings us to phase 2, that we need a manual because the psychologists, they know counseling, but they don't know terrorism, the way one should know. At the same time, maybe the religious scholars, they know religion, but not violent extremism or terrorism. So we thought of a manual, and in order to do that manual, we also, with the support of the foundation, we went to Singapore and Indonesia to see their DRAD program and came up with an interesting kind of manual where we have 5 categories of counseling, not only the psychological and the religious counseling, which Singapore and Indonesia, they also have, and some other countries in the world, but we added 3 more. We added educational counseling, and then we added the cultural counseling, and finally we also added the legal counseling. So there are 5 categories of counseling. The counselors are absolutely independent. They do their assessment independently, and total around 35 to 40 counselors are involved. So by the time the assessment is done, is quite robust, and I will try to give you a sense of that. And that brought us to phase 3, to the counseling program. Now, there are different stages in this project. Of course, when it comes to counseling, there is, of course, the preparatory stage where the screening is done. And then, of course, you have the 5 categories of counseling, and you can see the religious, psychological, cultural, education, and legal. And once the assessment is done, and once there is an agreement of all that, yes, this person is good enough for rehabilitation package, then it comes to rehabilitation. And of course, finally, there are also policy issues related to the whole project, and this we can come later, maybe doing Q&A. These are the 5 counseling categories: religious, cultural, educational, psychological, legal. Not in any way hierarchical. When we do the counseling, we can start with, sometimes we start with legal, sometimes with educational, sometimes with cultural, in different ways. But I remember when we started first, we started with religious and psychological counseling. And when we were debriefed, we were getting a sense that they are very rigid. They're not opening up. The breakthrough happened when the cultural team started the counseling. They gave the feedback totally different from the 2 others. They said, oh, they're opening up, they're ready to perform, they're reading poetry, some of them are painting, and I'm sure the cultural counselor of Sana Mimi will talk more about that during her presentation. So it's not a hierarchical way. We try different ways. It's a kind of a trial and error method to see how one can impact, whichever the category is. So it's an interesting combination. But these are the 5 categories, and this also sets us different from some of the DRAD programs that we have in the world. Now, we have already done over, well, it's already 92, but here we have a kind of a summary of 32 of them. Now, if you look at the combination, you can see 44% have graduated, those who are colored in green. The 6% were recommended for graduation, and when we say graduation, means graduation for rehabilitation. Graduation, but yearly activity is required, that's 6%, that's blue, and then you have yellow, where they are recommended for graduation, but monitoring is required, that's 16%, and finally, we have the red ones, where they cannot graduate, further counseling is needed, that is 34%. So you can see the assessment has been done in a way, not all graduates, and not all fall into not being recommended for rehabilitation. Some are to be monitored, some are to be reviewed, but then some have to go through advanced counseling, which hopefully we will begin very soon. Now, very quickly on the assessment, because this is where globally those who are engaged in DRAD programs, they would always ask, how do you assess? Our assessment is very, very complex and a very, I would say, comprehensive. It's so comprehensive that sometimes even myself, I get confused because each of the categories are very important. I already pointed out that there are over 40 people, assessing each individual violent extremists or offenders who were released. Let me also point out here that these 32 are who have been released, but we have also started counseling inside the prison. That number is not included here, but the government also wants us to having counseling inside the prison to see how they would respond. So when it comes to assessment, it's mainly the violent extremists who have been released, who probably some were in jail for 12, 20, maybe 15 years, or some even more, some even less, 1 year or 2 years or something like that, and they have been released. So when it comes to assessment, the stage 1 is a pre-screening, which CTC does it with the support of SB also, and so there is a screening of who would start, who would come to the counseling sessions. So one kind of screening goes through CTC in stage 1, and then the CA, our researchers, they get involved in this whole exercise of pre-counseling, and of course in also making the curriculum. That is mainly done by my center, research in my center, of what would be lessons, who would come, who would give the lecture, all are mainly CS tasks, but we try to have series of meetings with CTC by the time we start the counseling. Now, once that stage is done, you come to stage 2, the counseling services, and here you have individual assessment and also group assessment. And they are done absolutely independently. The cultural counselor would not know what the educational counselors have done. The educational counselor would not know what the psychological counselors have done. They're done absolutely independent, objectively, without CTC interference and without CA interference. And then, of course, we also have, a collective kind of a assessment and debriefing that goes on regularly. By the time we come to stage 3, there is an extensive debriefing by the counselors, and we try to give, the researchers try to give their sense. Even the CA researchers who are regularly with the counselors. They have their own assessment. And finally, the senior researchers, we give our assessment, but that at the end of the day, it's the CTC who finally decides who would graduate or not. Even if it is all green, CTC has the final say because they know more than anyone, And assessment, and I've always I point to the counselors, is a combination of subjective and objective assessment. You need to see their body language, their eye contact, and of course, there's also objective assessment. So it's a combination of subjective and objective assessment. Very quickly on the options for graduates, these are some of the things that CTC has already started. Giving them driving lessons, computer, sewing machines, even some financial support. What are the ongoing work? The phase that we have just started, there will be basic and advanced counseling. There will be a curriculum development. There will be pedagogic development, and also finally the assessment tool, which is very critical. And this is something that we are trying to work with Indonesia, where Sasakawa Peace Foundation is also involved in the DRAD program. Now, future interventions, I think the last slide that we have, this has already been flagged by Mr. Anis, and that is to establish a Center for Tolerance and Diversity as a DRAD and rehab hub, where you have, not only the counseling sessions will take place, but also the videography, the making of documentaries, so that you connect the DRAD program with preventing violent extremism. The tolerance is an issue of mind, and how do you set up a tolerant mind? Because in the internet, you have, very intolerant discourses going on, and hopefully a center of this kind will make a difference. Of course, there are also possibilities, even having a mobile application of some of the things that we are thinking. This idea we got a little bit from Singapore. I have to flag that also here, where they have a center, a Harmony Center, and we thought that was a unique kind of a thing. And we have probably, our idea is a bigger one, but I have to acknowledge the idea we got from Singapore of how they are working on this DRAD with PVE. I don't want to, okay, these are some of the things that the center will work on. We don't have to flag that. And of course, promoting exchange visits and others to learn more. And today, in the morning, we learned from key scholars, from Japanese scholars, their understanding of radicalization and what they are doing here in Japan. That also is something I think we will carry with us, and it will help us to build a particular assessment tool that we have been talking about. Thank you very much.
イムティアズ先生、ありがとうございました。今事業の全体概要についてご説明いただいたかと思うんですが、5つのカウンセリングを行っているということで、その5つのカウンセリングの中から本日はまず文化カウンセリングについて、次にアフサナミミさんにお話をいただきたいと思います。よろしいでしょうか。アフサナミミさんはバングラデシュの国民的な女優でモデル、そして映画監督もされている方なんですが、このプロジェクトでは文化カウンセリングチームのリーダーを務められ、チームの編成から内容の企画までご担当されています。どういうことを実際にされているのかお話しいただきます。ミミさん、よろしくお願いします。
Thank you. Respected audience, good evening. It was a great opportunity to work with Center for Alternatives, CTTC Bangladesh, SPF, Sasakawa Peace Foundation on de-radicalization and reintegration program. In my presentation, I am going to share some of our experiences and understandings to you on behalf of the Cultural Counseling team. Yes, it's a second slide. Yes, it was challenging to design the work procedure because there were no previous examples of such work in front of us. And being a female team leader, the challenge was little more for me. Some common issues are that radicalized people don't like to interact or eye contact with women, especially those who are not under veils. They don't like cultural activists, so we had fear whether they would accept us or reject. Next, please. So we started finding our route, how to reach them, what kind of atmosphere would allow them enjoy the joy of creativity. How can these individuals who are turned away from their own society learn to respect the pluralistic culture? How can we instill the understanding that there is no conflict between religion and culture? How can we foster their positive attitude to the history and heritage of Bangladesh? We aimed to create, next please. We aimed to create a friendly environment where they can freely express themselves. The cultural counseling team consisted consciously, including men, women, people from different religions. The team included actresses, singers, musicians, theater students, writers, education researchers. We prioritized creating a warm relationship between beneficiaries and counselors during sessions. Instead of one-on-one sessions, we chose group work because collective practice is a fundamental pillar of culture. Next, please. The goal was to reconnect the beneficiaries with diverse culture. They may not like everything about culture and tradition, but we can hope they will not pose a threat to it in the future. For each batch, we had 3 days to conduct the sessions with 6 hours each day. It was not possible to bring out significant changes in their mindset in just 18 hours. Therefore, our main goal was to leave some joyful memories that would stay with them and potentially ignite their interest in various aspects of culture in the future. Another goal was to dispel their negative perceptions about people involved in cultural practices. We wanted to make a place in their hearts because if we can leave an impression on their hearts, we can also impact their thoughts. Next, please. These are the main activities we have executed. Our session started through painting, as it is an essential ice-breaking tool. This activity was consciously chosen to remove any negative perceptions the beneficiaries might have about painting. Additionally, it allowed them to enjoy this creative activity. They joyfully expressed their thoughts with colors and brushes. Please, on the video. Here, a person saying that after a long, he got to spend few days with joy. He said, yes, they are tagged with the word terrorist. But through this direct program, they want to reintegrate themselves with the social cohesion. See how joyfully actually they painted. Yeah. Here actually he is saying that word that they are tagged with. This person is reciting a patriotic poem. He said that while drawing that poem came in his mind, and he read it in his childhood. So after a long, he's memorizing some lines. After they painted, they expressed their feelings in writing. Next video, please. See this person, this guy. He wrote how he enjoyed painting and went back to his childhood. But why we are mentioning him here, that is, he belongs to a very conservative community. He is a madrasa teacher, which is an Islamic institution. At the beginning, he questioned, is it mandatory to participate? We gave him complete freedom. Then seeing others, he got inspired and drew a beautiful mosque, as we saw, on his canvas. Not only that, he ended up singing a cinema song, who once believed painting and singing are prohibited. He also showed his eagerness to allow his madrasa students to draw pictures in his institution, and then he participated in every event proactively. Next, probably it's a video. Yeah. This was the topic chair. The topic chair contained various fun incidents from childhood and adolescence. Topics were chosen to touch the emotions of the beneficiaries. We wanted them to open up through their memories. Here, the man was laughing. He shared his sweetest memory of falling in love. It was the topic, first love. Love and how they got involved and finally got married. Here, I'll request to stop the video here, please. Please pause. Yeah. Before going to the next video, I want to share something. In the topic jar, a boy, he shared his topic, how he, after being caught eating tomatoes from a neighbor's field, faced strict parental discipline, and kept away from the normal course of childhood. This is very sad. And the irony is, his parents, when they found that the boy is going to be radicalized, they straight brought him to the CTTC center. So this is the irony. Please, the video, please. We took them to the National Museum to see various artifacts of civilization and culture. Our goal was for them to see, learn, and think, and for questions to arise in their minds. They were taken to a bookstore and given books of their choice as gifts. This selection of books by the beneficiaries revealed their thoughts, helping us understand them better. In the open performance sessions, slips mentioned various topics according to which participants offered to sing, recite poems, extempore speeches, and acting. We'll see they are singing in a group. During the session of pilot phase, a drama session of the pilot phase, there was a debate among the beneficiaries about bowing. As Muslims do not bow to anyone except Allah, they were confused about whether bowing was similar to sijda, a kind of prostration. Later, they understood on their own that bowing means showing respect to the audience. And we were very happy about that because seeing them questioning and discovering their own answers. Some used to believe that performing arts like music or acting or using musical instruments is against religion. Some used to support only religious songs before. But after our sessions, all of them participated spontaneously. They all sing a song together. And I was talking about the theater sessions. In theater sessions, they created their own stories from their life and did rehearsal and then performed really very well. Through this, counseling beneficiaries found their relationship with culture, recognized the need for entertainment in life, and understood that cultural education is participatory. We could not provide for everything, but we felt that these beneficiaries need to be brought into regular practice. It is necessary to create a cultural environment for them and integrate them into the cultural flow, and if could, engage their families too. The last video. This the debate regarding drama, regarding the bowing. Yeah. I want to harmonize with him as well. Free sky, flying on free wings. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
ミミさん、ありがとうございました。非常に興味深いビデオがたくさんあって、いろいろ質問したいことはあるんですが、時間の関係上、また次質疑応答でいろいろ伺いたいと思います。続きましては、サイドル・イスラムさん、心理カウンセリングチームをリードされている、心理学者のサイドル・イスラムさんに、ご発表お願いします。サイドルさんはノースサウス大学でアシスタントスチューデントカウンセラーとして勤務されていて、臨床科トレーナー、スーパーバイザーとして政府系病院やオフィス、大学、リハビリセンター、NGO などで勤務されています。よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you. Good evening. Can we have the slide, please? Oh, sorry. So for us, the de-radicalization, it's not the prime focus, though it is about de-radicalization. It's not about putting off the fire, it's more about bringing them to the life. So roughly speaking, it has 3 stages: assessment, intervention, and rehabilitation. So as we understand that radicalization is a very complex process, and it includes many factors. To oversimplify, we can categorize it in 3 factors: in cognitive, behavioral, and social. That imply some changes when a person go through radicalization process. There is a change in their cognition, how they think. There is a change in their behavior and social. Another way to look at it is that cognition is mostly relevant to extremism, where behavior is relevant somewhat to violence, and social is how they are connected with the society or with the terrorist group. These assessments help us to design individual tailored session for intervention for each individuals. These are the desired outcome. First, of course, we want them to de-engage from the violence, not to act upon their thoughts. If that is achieved, then distance from the extremist ideology. This is where the de-radicalization phase, I would say, intensely starts. Then introducing tolerance to alternative ideas and accepting pluralism. So the goal of this to this stage is that they accept that there are people who might not think like them, think very differently, can still exist, and they can live with them with in a peace. And then, of course, you need to set a new life goal for them and engage them in the new life goal and help them to connect personal, family, and social activity. This is roughly speaking the theory of change. we don't have much time to elaborate. It's just you build the rapport and then you introduce the dissonance and facilitate the change, and some way you take some step so that the changes sustain. This is roughly our working model. So it has these 3 stages, as I talked earlier. First one would be assessment. That includes screening assessment, and there we assess their mental health aspects, their personality, thoughts, and everything. And on another aspect, we assess their radicalization. Once assessment is done, we design intervention for them. The first step of this de-radicalization intervention would be creating dissonance, challenging their ideas. And once that has achieved, then we focus to manage that dissonance, and we focus to improve their cognitive skills. There are 2 major focus in cognitive skills. One, of course, in most cases, they don't think critically. They don't challenge things, this and that. So we improve their thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and on other aspects, we try to uplift their empathy, their EQ. And then restructuring, we want to focus to restructure on their identity, their worldview, and their idea of justice, how they think justice can be served, and what's their role are. After that have achieved, we focus on decision-making and generating alternative goals. As someone go through the radicalization process, they have set strong goals for them, like achieving different violent extremism goals. But if we can successfully implement the de-radicalization, there is this emptiness. So they need new life narrative, new goals. And once that's done, we need to focus on rehabilitation, the social integration. Rehabilitation has 2 major components. One would be vocational stage, vocational skills, employment, and another would be community engagement that can be done through inclusion in the society and contribution in the community. And the last, the relapse prevention, that includes family counseling, additional support, and follow-up. So our assessments include semi-structured assessment session, observation, and different psychometric tools, skills. I will roughly discuss something that we got from this 94 VU. Mostly their worldview is very aligned with the religious lens. They see everything from the religious perspective. Also, they have a very strong religious identity, and they associate everything from their religious view identity. We also assess their relational identity, their relation with their country, community, society, family, everything. So these happen sometimes when they go through detention, they got caught, or they're on bail, they're on trial. Sometimes they get regret, or maybe they released after a certain penalty. Unfortunately, they feel like their identity got stolen, and now only identity they're left with is they're a terrorist, and there is nothing else. These are the common cognitive dissonance. I wouldn't go into detail, but of course, they have overgeneralization of things, and one of the things is should and must. They feel like they should do it, they must do it. These are the common mental health issues that we have found. Sometimes there are different categories, of course. There are different categories of VU have different sort of mental health issue. Sometimes they have lack of self-esteem, apathy, sleep issue, guilt. But mostly we thoroughly focus on their hopelessness, how much hopeful they are about the changes. This is one of the quote from them is, we ask them, what's your plan for next 5 years? And he said, you're asking me to, what's my plan for 5 years? I even can't think about tomorrow. These are common risk factors. I will discuss very briefly about those risk factors. These are if they don't feel like they're human, if they don't feel like they're connected to the humanity in together, if there's psychological vulnerability. Sometimes I think there is a cultural commonness in between Japan and Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, we have people who have difficulty to say no to others, difficulty to assert their idea, and there are people who are very obedient. Those are people who have got easily recruited. There are other sort of people who are very aggressive and aroused, and they are thrilled to chase something that is risky. Also, people who have less control over their temperament. Also, as the radicalized group offer care, help, and defense support, mental health support, and other supports as well. These are also risk factors. Other risk factor includes strict religious idea. Another problem that we are facing lately, like a lot, it's they listen to a lot of religious and political propaganda. Poverty, if there's strong sense of resentment, if there is extremism in the family, if they're distance from the family, and difficulty to adjust in the society. And these are the protective factors. If they have, there are, other factors as well, but these are the prime one. The support from family, friends and family. Also, if they feel like they have to do something for their family, they have some responsibility towards them. Because in the radicalization process, some way they radicalized in that way, they feel like their family actually doesn't want best for them, and they create some sort of distance from the family. So that's another important criteria. Hope and optimism, how much hopeful they are about the change. And people who got arrested, they have strong fear about getting re-arrested and imprisoned. So that's, if they have that, they're more likely not to engage, and fear of isolation from the society, as Bangladesh society is a very collective culture, collective society. And getting distance from others is, it's very serious punishment for them. So these are our counseling outcome. Of course, with the current capacity, we can't achieve every outcome that we have targeted, but these are the outcomes that we have achieved so far, but of course not in every cases. So roughly speaking, their belongingness to the society, they are getting better problem solving ability, generating hope. Also, they got sense of responsibility to them, to their family, to their society. They got a new identity that's very important. They feel like they're now their father to someone, daughter to someone, or son to someone. They got a new role as well to deliver. Of course, better mental health and well-being is our target. Not just mental health, it's better well-being, how they feel about themselves, about life, improve self-esteem and referral. I would finish with one of the quote. One of the VO, the service receiver, said that, I don't feel like I'm a criminal, but I feel like I'm a human being. So thank you for your kind presence and participation. Thank you.
サイドルさん、ありがとうございました。今、お三方にご発表いただいて、イムティアズ先生が冒頭ご説明くださっていたかと思うんですが、基本的情報としてちょっと分かりにくかったかなというのは、このプロジェクトは昨年度スタートしまして、まずはその元受刑者と元受刑者の家族など過激化のリスクが高いと思われる32名に対して、先ほどミミさんのビデオの中に警察のマークが出てきたと思うんです。CTTC という対テロ国際犯罪庁の、事務所の中で、5つの、違うカウンセリングメソッド、アプローチを用いて、カウンセリングを実施したというものになりまして、今ミミさんとサイドルさんにご発表いただいた、内容のほかに、3種類、リーガルカウンセリング、それから宗教指導者の方々によるカウンセリング、そのコーランの理解の、少し寛容なイスラム理解というところで問題のあるテーマについての対話というものと、それから最終的教育的なカウンセリングというものが、全部で5種類のカウンセリングが実施されました。それではここで、コメンテーターのお二人をお招きしたいと思います。毎日新聞編集委員の大路智子さん、そして立教大学コミュニティ福祉学部特任教授の堤博先生にご登壇い ただきたいと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。お二人は私たちこのバングラデシュとインドネシアの実践を支援しながら、日本の経験を脱過激化、世界で非常に活発に議論されている、主にイスラム過激主義の過激化、あるいは脱過激化に関する議論の訴状に日本の経験を一緒に議論できないかということで、統一教会ですとかオウム真理教の脱会支援、カルトグループの脱会支援に関わってこられた専門家の方々と一緒に研究会というのも実施してきました。でお二人にも大変、ご協力いただいて参加していただいております。それではまず王子さんの方にコメントをお願いします。
アフメド博士、ミミさん、そしてイスラムさん、大変興味深いプレゼンテーションありがとうございました。短い時間でしたがとても濃密な内容で、メモを取るのが大変でしたけれども、本当に勉強になりました。ありがとうございました。私はエルサレム特派員などとしてイスラエル・パレスチナに6年半暮らしていたこともあって、過激化、脱過激化について大変興味を持っておりまして、今日はそういった経験も踏まえながら少し質問をさせていただこうと思います。どうぞよろしくお願いします。まずアフメドドクターですけれども、CTTC との連携ということで、非常に政府との連携が非常にスムーズにいっているという点、ここはすごく特筆すべき特徴かなと。やはりプライバシーの問題などがあって、なかなか支援と公権力との連携っていうのが難しいところがあるのかなと思いますが、その中でこのような成功を持っている。これはその政府からの要望なのか、それとも協力した結果なのか、そのあたりは非常に日本にないところで、どのようにこの協力体制を築かれたのか、ちょっとそのプロセスをもし少しお話しいただけるのであればありがたいです。それからその関連で言いますと、もし私の聞き間違いだったら恐縮なんですが、そのプログラムを終了したかどうかの最終判断は政府がされるということでよろしかったでしょうか。そういうことであればですね、そのあたりで例えばその客観的判断と主観的判断両方でっていうお話だったと思うんですけれども、その主観的な、政府の主観的な判断っていうものに対する何か懸念とかそういったものは抱かれたことはないでしょうか。そのあたりちょっと伺ってみたいなと思いました。それからミミさんのお話も大変興味深く、私の個人的な印象ですけれども、絵とかあるいは過去の思い出をジャーの中から取り出してというお話もそうですし、それからいろいろな自主的な思考を促すこと、あるいは歌とか全部つないでいくと何か五感を使う、体を使う、頭の中でいろいろ思考する頭の中だけでなく体全体を使う、そういうような活動のようにも見受けられました。その身体性を使うことの重要性と、その脱過激化、過激な思考を緩めていく中での体を使う身体性の重要性っていうものは何かお考えなどがありますでしょうか。それからもう一つはその思い出のお話がありましたけれども、思い出、過去の思い出ですね。例えばいい結婚ができた、初恋の人と結婚できたとかいう、そういった過去の思い出の話を思い出させることの目的っていうのはどういうものになりますでしょうか。どういうメリットがあるのかなというちょっと興味を持ちました。例えばその人の人生観とかアイデンティティを統合していくような何かそういうメリットがあるのかなとちょっと想像しました。 そして最後イスラムさんにはですね認知の問題などで非常に興味深く拝聴しました。それでその人の思考がちょっと空っぽっていうような表現があったかもしれないんですけれども、空っぽになっているというで、あるいはアイデンティティが盗まれたという、何かそこにもしかすると思考がハイジャックされやすい、そういう脆弱性、バナラビリティみたいなものがあって、でそれをうまく利用されてこの思考の入れ替えをされたっていうような方が多いのかなと。でもしそうだとすると、逆にこういうリハビリのプロセスの中で、新しい何か思考を入れ替えるようなことになるとちょっと違うのかなと。もっと本人がいろいろな状況の中で自分で試行錯誤して思考していく、そういうことが求められるのかなと思うんですが、そのあたりで何か入れ替えにならないように気をつけてらっしゃるようなこととか、A を B に取り替えるっていうことではなく、その人自身が自分で試行錯誤していく力を伸ばしていくっていうことであるならば、その両者のが違いって言いますか、入れ替えにならないような工夫っていうのは何かされているのかなというふうに思いました。あともう一つ伺いたいのは、日本とバングラデシュの類似性について言及されました。でこれはまさに自己主張しにくいとかノーと言えないとか、集団を気にする、ユニバーサルな部分もありますけど、特に日本においては他者の動きを気にするっていうところがあるんですけれども、その背景にあるものは、この類似性がもしあるとすれば、それは例えば幼い頃からの教育とか家庭環境とか、あるいはその集団的文化的な背景があるんでしょうか。そのあたりのことで何か改善できる点とか、あればご意見いただければありがたいなと思いました。以上です。
ありがとうございます。どうしましょうか。まずはこの王子さんからのご質問にお答えいただきますか。それとも堤先生もうご質問、わかりました。じゃあまずはイムティアズ先生、ミミさん、サイドルイスラムさんの順番で今の王子さんからのご質問にお答えいただけますでしょうか。
Sure, thank you. I think the whole process of the collaboration between CTC and CA started with the government's zero tolerance policy on terrorism. But at the same time, the government mooted the idea that those who are released must, they must get a package for rehabilitation because they have to, go and get engaged in a society. Now, in order to get that rehabilitation package, whatever that is, I think the government was thinking, how do we know that we are not helping a violent extremist? Do they remain violent extremists? Or so they thought about this program called de-radicalization, which probably I think this is kind of a global understanding that if there is radicalization, then there has to be de-radicalization also. You can talk about a dialectics between the two. So I guess a global reading what was happening around the world, and there are DRAD programs, as you know, in Singapore, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and several other countries. So I think the government also thought, what about a DRAD program in Bangladesh? And that is where CTC comes and approaches us to see how it can be developed, because they are practitioners, they are police people, they don't have the theoretical, and they don't have the time also, they're busy all through. So the collaboration started from there, I guess. But I also have to flag that, that in South Asia, the relationship between the security agencies and the civil is a little bit different from other South Asian countries. And that has to do with 1971, the Liberation War. During the Liberation War, the collaboration was very strong between police, the Bengali police and the Bengali military and civilians. Now, I was just at last 9 student, but I left, my parents went to India. But I remember the person who led us, we were around 16, 17 people. All of them were much older than me. But we were led by a soldier, actually. And we followed him literally, though he was just a soldier, not even an officer. But he's the only one who knew how to, use a gun or whatever. So we followed him like anything. So that relationship is still there in some form. So there's yes, there are a lot of tensions, but there are also kind of an engagement of acting with academicians and civilians. So that is also there. And the second question on the final assessment, when I say final assessment, I mean we don't authorize, the Center for Alternatives, we don't authorize that the person can rehabilitate because we are researchers or research centers. We don't have that power. It is CTC who does that. Now, so far as looking into their understanding of the DRAD program is they respect the assessment and they fully depend on the assessment. I don't think there has been any case where they disputed the assessment. They said, wow, this is what we were also thinking. So it's an interesting, but the final has to be them because they are a governmental institution. Even if we say everything, they have the final say and the final power. So when we say final assessment, I just wanted to distinguish that we remain as a think tank, we remain as a research institute, and it's the CTC which decides on whether they should graduate, literally get the package, the rehabilitation package. I'll stop there.
Yes, actually, our aim was not to confront them in the cultural sessions, because in the religious session, the design was there that they could debate on so many issues regarding the religious things. But for us, we had that very idea not to confront them, and we didn't want to make them recall of the all their sad parts of their life, all the dark parts of their life, how they got involved and how they passed their life in jail and all the difficult things they faced. So we actually wanted to give some light moments to them. That's why actually through the memory session, topic chair, so we included that session because we wanted to make them enjoy, and through these kind of activities, if they could love the creative aspects of our culture, and through those process, they could connect with the mainstream culture. And the 5 senses about you mentioned, and yeah, of course, we did so many physical tasks too. We did, they participated all those events very nicely, and we have hours of footage and videos, but we couldn't show because we cannot expose them directly. So of course they laughed, they cried, okay. they did so many things. I think they will keep these things in their mind. So we just wanted to achieve that single goal.
I just want to add something. There has never been an attempt to impose our understanding on them. That's very clear. We never wanted to impose anything. What we wanted to, what we are doing, in fact, is to expose them to a different understanding. So there is a debate also. In fact, sometimes they're very logical in giving their understanding of things. And so debate is really something which is very interactive in all the sessions, very interactive. Sometimes it's tense because they would say, no, this is the one. But we try to say, no, if you're reading this verse, if I'm talking about the religious counselors, what about this verse? What about that verse? Are you familiar? Most often they will say, no, we don't know that verse. This is the only verse we know. This is the only interpretation we got. But then when you say, no, this is the other way in the interpretation. Because at the end of the day, and this is my understanding, end of the day, all religions are peaceful. This is the essence of religion. Otherwise, you cannot have a religion if it is not tolerant, if it is not peaceful. I think no religion wanted to have violence. No religion wanted to have imposition on others and domination. It's not possible. And that's the reason I think we were talking earlier, if you remember, that we have to be very careful of the concept of religion. In South Asia, the concept is dharma, and which is, how a mother nurtures a child. And that comes close, in fact. And the interesting part, if I want to focus on Islam, don't forget, it's peace. And the number of times a Muslim says peace every day is absolutely unique. Because we have to say salam alaikum. That means peace be upon you. And the answer, the response is also peace be upon you too. So the number of times we say peace, if we want to translate that into English every time, we have to say peace be upon you. Peace be upon you. Look at the number of times we say. It is very few religions would say that much, peace and peace. But still, the mind sometimes, we say Assalamu alaikum, but I think the person who's saying probably don't understand that you are actually saying peace be upon you and then committing violence. So there's no attempt to impose, and that's the reason I think the violence extremists, when they brief us about their experience, they highly appreciate that. They have said, oh, if we knew, because they know that we are not trying to put our ideas into them, rather we are trying to expose the world. So I thought, just to, say something that you wanted to, even with the culture, I think that's precisely what we are trying to do, isn't it? Yeah, thank you.
And, they completely opened up. They completely opened up to us, okay? And they shared almost everything to us, okay? They cried. But those just, helped us to understand them. And of course, we noted everything, and as I said, we have all the footages. But this just we kept as our research material. Okay.
Thank you. So, of course, I can assure you all of our psychological counselors are highly trained clinical psychologists. So they are just not equipped how to deal with pathology, mental health issue or thoughts, but also they are highly professional. So we utmost uplift ethics, consent, autonomy, and empowerment of our client. As Sir said, and I would echo that in no way we introduce any sort of our idea. Of course, there is their idea, but it's more about how there is a thinking, but it's also about how they think. So in most cases, they have their different cognitive distortion, the thinking process. So we work with that thinking process. And if there is any lack of skill, we try to skill them. And my apology, probably I missed last part of your question, I mean the last one. I was hearing that you were talking about the similarity between Japan and Bangladesh, and I missed a question actually, sorry, my apology.
日本とバングラデシュの類似性というようなことをおっしゃられたと思うんですよ。日本ともしかしたらバングラデシュは似てるかも、バングラデシュと日本は似てるかもしれないっておっしゃられたんで、おっしゃられたように自己主張をちょっと抑え気味にするところとか、ノーと言えないところであるとか、集団の様子を伺ってしまうところとかで、それはもし似てるとすれば、教育とか社会的な価値観とかいろんなものが背景にはあると思うんですが、でもそういったものがもし過激化にコントリビュートしてしまっているんであれば、そういったものを非常に大きな社会的なコンテクストの話になりますので、そういった要素を少しでもその過激化にコントリビュートしないようにするにはどういうことができるのか、どういう工夫が対策があるのか、お考えがあれば教えてください。
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. I'll try to keep my answer really short. When we were developing the materials and the pedagogy for de-radicalization, mostly we found published Westernized material, and we believe we Asian have a very distinct culture. It's a lovely culture. I love almost everything about it. We're very society-oriented. Our culture is also very in-reach. We take care of each other. So I believe, of course, we have lots of scope to work together, learn together, and we should develop something that is applicable for Asian culture. And of course, it's specific to that particular region. But I believe there are some similarity in Asian culture in general. And would you have realized that it's very important that people have at least two things in their education when they're being a child. One is, of course, having the capability of thinking critically, being able to ask important question, being able to thinking clearly. So that's one, about the thinking capability. And the second would be their empathy, how they feel about other people, and can they accept the differences or not, how they resolve the differences. But of course, empathy would be our proudest, empathy, how they feel about other people. And if we can put utmost our human identity first, that's it. That's a good start. That can be a good start, I think.
ありがとうございます。非常に面白い議論なんですけれども、時間がだんだんドキドキしてきたんですけれども、堤先生にここでコメントを頂戴してもよろしいでしょうか。はい。スライドを投影できますでしょうか。堤先生は犯罪学と評価研究のご専門で、法務省や少年院、そして国連のアジア局と犯罪防止研修所の教官も務められています。よろしくお願いします。
はい、私バングラデシュに詳しいわけでもございませんし、過激化ということについても特に詳しいわけではありませんが、この後自己紹介の中でちょっと触れますけれども、犯罪や非行を犯した人の離脱ということに大変興味を持って、考えてきた、犯罪学者ですので、ある意味一般論として、ご質問をいくつか用意させていただいています。ただ一般論の中では、響くものもあるのかなというふうに期待をしております。で、これは今ちょっとご説明ありましたけど、学歴ですけど、私少年院の職員長くしてですね、その経験非常に私の原体験として大きなものがあります。で、この後質問とも絡みますけれども、少年院に出た若者たちも作ってから時間経ちますので、上は40くらいになってきましたけども、セカンドチャンスという団体を一緒に作りまして、こういういわゆる当事者団体との関わりも深いというのが特徴です。で、 今申し上げたように、犯罪者の離脱というものに興味があるんですけれども、今日言葉遣いで若干注意したいのはですね、おそらく私も前のお仕事ではそういうふうに使っていたんですけれども、例えば更生とか立ち直りという言葉は当事者はほとんど使いません。英語で言うとリハビリテーションですね。だからリカバリーという言葉をここで使っています。なので私の興味があるのは、犯罪を非行化した人のリカバリーの促進ですね。あと、そもそも今回の場合もディラディカライゼーションという表現で、過激なものを脱過激化するという表現になってますけども、そもそも社会に包摂ってどういうことなんだろうって、そのことも考えております。そのことも若干私の問いの中に含まれてきます。であとこれも関連はしますけれども、そうした人々を要するに社会的な非排除の状態にあった人たちがどういうふうに自治を獲得していくかということも非常に興味を持っていて、これ当事者団体の問題とも関係をしているところです。でまず、これは今日お話があったところと重なりつつ違うかなと、どっちかなと思いながらですけども、少年の教官としての感覚ですが、目の前に子どもたちが入ってくるわけですけども、犯罪を非行したってことは事実としてその人の処分の理由にはなってるわけですけども、その人のごく一部に過ぎないと思うんですよね。ですのでその後のその人の人生を考えるときに、その人がもともと持っている過去っていうのはそのほとんどは否定する必要がない、むしろ生かしていくものだというふうに理解をしています。で過激な行動というのは確かに人の極端な場合殺してしまったとかですね、人の命を奪ったとかそういう行動がある時はありますけれども、それはその人の一面に過ぎないんだというふうに私は感じています。その行動自体はとても問題ないなわけですけども、内面の偏りと外面の行動の過激さっていうのは必ずしも連動していないということをよく思います。でそういう意味で真っ黒な人がそこに存在してそれを主義していく、要するに過激なものを脱過激という非常に二律背反というか、2つの対立軸があるように感じます表現ですけども、必ずしも人が変わっていくプロセスというのはそうじゃないんじゃないかと、別の言い方するともともとあるものがあるとしてですね、それに外側にかぶっている犯罪とか非行という皮があって、その皮を破ってですね本来のその人の姿が出てくるもの、それが立ち直りであるというふうに言ってもいいかなと思います。今ちょっと立ち直りという言葉を使ってしまいましたけど、でこの辺から質問を混ぜながらですけども、私が今回書からせていただいたのはこの本の翻訳をやったからだと思いますけど、シャト・マルナーっていうのはアメリカ人で今イギリスにおられる研究者ですが、犯罪を犯した人々をインタビューしてですね、人生が変わった、少なくとも犯罪から離脱しつつある、あるいは離脱を持続している方々の特徴として3つの特徴を挙げています。1つが本物の私の発見、これね、本当の私は磨けば光るダイヤモンドのようなまっとうな人間だということを発見できている人は離脱を持続できる。2つ目はですね、自分の目は支配できる、要するに変われないんだとかね、もう無理なんだ俺の人生はとか思わない、自分はまっとうな人生を送れるんだという楽観主義。それ3番目はですね、簡単に言うと人の役に立ちたいという気持ちですね。こういう要素が人の犯罪から離脱していく上で重要だというのは彼の発見なんですけども、今回プロジェクトのご説明を受けたんですけども、こうした観点重なってはいると思いますけども、今回のプロジェクトでこういう観点はどのくらい重視されたのかなというのが1つ目の問いになります。2つ目はですね、これ私が少年院で働いていてですね、再犯率を大きく左右するのはたった2つだけなんですね。1つは家族が受け入れるか受け入れないか、もう1つは仕事に就けるか就けないか、いずれもですね社会のリアクションです。典型的な社会的排除ですけれども、今回もですね、強制施設内で行われたプロジェクトですから多少仕方がないというところがありますけれども、こうしたご本人を取り巻くいわゆる社会のお家とか仕事の受け入れというようなこういう2つの観点はどの程度考慮されているか、あるいは介入かということが気になるところです。次ですね、今お話したこととも重なるんですけれども、実際これは犯罪学のマイクはちょっといまいちですが、犯罪非行化した人の立ち直りの要因というのは施設を出てからの状況の影響がほとんどである。これは分散説明するのは個人要因は小さいってことですね。もちろん ラディカライゼーションの話では違うのかもしれないんですけれども、その状況要因の大半の根本は実は差別です。つまりバングラデシュでこういう方々がですね、社会に出ていくときに、例えばもう犯罪者じゃないと思えるんだっていう言い方をされていましたけれども、例えば、彼ら自身は宗教的な構図ですよね、正義に基づいて活動されてたんだけど、社会的には犯罪者というふうにラベリングされてしまった。それによって自分の人生が狭められてるんじゃないかというような感覚を持っているのではないかなとご説明を聞いて思いましたが、とするとですね、こうした括弧付きの犯罪をした人々を社会がどう受け止めるのかということについて介入していくという必要があるだろうと思うんですね。こういう点でバングラデシュのお取り組みはどうかということが次の質問です。次ですね、犯罪学では犯罪をやめていくことでジスタンスという表現をします。これ離脱と訳されていますけれども、離脱研究がこの20年くらい急に交流してきているわけですが、その最大のポイントはですね、離脱をさせるというふうに考えるわけではなくて、離脱というのはするものだというふうに考えるということです。要するに自然な離脱プロセスからそれを観察してですね、人はこういうふうに犯罪から離脱していくんだというまず事実の観察をして、それをどうやって促進したらいいんだろうというふうに、人を変えるというよりはその人が変わりやすいような状況をどう整えていくというふうに考えるというふうに、人のいわゆる狭い意味での立ち直り支援の考え方が変わってきたわけですね。ということはですね、バングラデシュの場合、このラディカライズされた方がどれだけ自然に立ち直っているかということというか変化していることを私は理解随分存じ上げませんけれども、そもそもそういう方々がおられるとして、そういう方から学ぶ人っていうのはこういうふうにして、ラディカライゼーションからの離脱を持続しているんだという自然現象からの観察ってどの程度行われているのかなというのが次の問いになります。次ですね、これは私は先ほどリカバリーという言葉を使ったことと重なりますけれども、離脱研究においては離脱プロセスをリカバリーとして理解します。日本ではリカバリープロセスとしてとりわけ典型的に使われているのは依存症だと思いますけれども、依存というのは孤独孤立状態に対して何かでそれを埋めていく、そういう疾患であるというふうに理解をされていると思いますけれども、孤独孤立の問題ですから、そこからの立ち直りというのは本人をエンパワーするコミュニティがそこで必要だというのが、離脱プロセスの基本的な理解、日本ではダルクみたいな団体がそうだと思いますが、そういうふうに理解をされていると思います。でその今ダルクの話もそうですけれども、当事者の力が非常に重要だというのはこの離脱プロセスで重要。当事者というのはご本人というよりも先行く人々ですね。先ほどの自然現象として、持続的な離脱を獲得した人々の力ということです。そういう、いわゆるうまくいっているというか先行く人々を見ることで自分は変われるというふうに思っていく、つまり変われないと思っていることが揺さぶられていく。さらにですね、これレリジャスな方々っていうのはそうですけど、こうしなきゃいけないというような思い込みがおそらくあるんだと思います。先ほどの文化プログラムの典型ですけども、文化プログラムというのはこうしなくていい、まさにアートっていうのは自由であることが本質だと思いますけども、そういう意味でも、当事者がですね、既存の価値観から異なるコミュニティ解放区を作っていくというのが離脱プロセスの理解の中で非常に重要になっていると思いますが、バングラデシュではこの離脱のプロセスをですね、リカバリー概念を使って理解をされているかどうかは分からないんですけど、さてもどういうふうに概念化されているかというのは次の問いになります。でこれは私、ただこれは質問じゃなくて私の意見ですけども、私も長い間法務教官、少年の教官させていただいてきましたけども、非常にですね、個人を変えるってアプローチは無力だというふうに思っています。個人が変わるように環境を変えるってことが非常に重要で、そのためにもちろんキックオフとしてですね、施設内での介入って非常に重要なわけですし、これからさまざまこの特にセンターを作っていくという形で取り組まれていくということで、要するに施設外における環境調整というのは非常に取り組まれていくと思いますけれども、それが本人当事者のアドボカシーとしてですね、要するに本人をチェンジさせていく、チェンジメーカーとしては私たちが存在するというよりは、 本人をファシリテートする人々として、私たちが存在していくということが重要だというふうに、私個々に思っていると、そういう観点から質問させていただいたということです。以上になります。
ありがとうございます。務先生から非常に本質的な問いかけをいただいたかと思うんですが、私たちも脱過激化事業を企画最初にするにあたって、全世界で展開されている脱過激化事業というものが、主にイスラム地域を対象としている非イスラム地域への言及が少ないことや、あるいはマジョリティの側、あるいは政府側が、反政府勢力やマイノリティの側を取り締まるというような意図と、やはりどうしても交錯してしまうのではないかといったリスクやなどなど、検討した上で、しかし括弧書きでまずはこの分野で何ができるか我々やってみようということでスタートしたんですが、その最初の初心に戻って最も重要な問いかけをくださったと思います。で、いろんなご指摘、全てがその犯罪者の人生の全てが間違っていたわけではなくて、いい部分に光を当てていくっていうのは、ミミさんのお話、文化カウンセリングのお話とも響き合うものが、トピックチャーと響き合うものがあると思いますし、ヒューマニティの面、ヒューマニティを取り戻していくっていうサイドゥルさんのお話とも、そして苦労を知るようにするのではないというのは、イムティアズ先生がいつもおっしゃっているシンギュラリティと寛容性の、問題というのと非常に響き合っているところがあるのかなと思いました。今の務先生からの問いかけに対して、バングラデシュの皆様からのリスポンスがお答えいただきたいんですが、その前にちょっと時間がもう押しておりまして、司会進行の時間管理の問題で大変恐縮なんですが、もし10分程度延長をお許しいただけるのであれば、少し延長して、会場の皆様から2、3ご質問をお受けして、それと合わせてお三方のバングラデシュの方々から、コメントを頂戴したいと思います。では会場の皆様からもご質問をいただきたいと思うんですが、ご質問がある方は挙手をいただいて、所属先とお名前、そしてどなたへのご質問であるか、ご質問内容よろしくお願いします。いかがでしょうか。では後ろの方、もう一方、じゃあこのお二人でとりあえずご質問を受けたいと思います。
よろしいでしょうか。NHK の解説委員の藤下と申します。今日は大変、興味深いお話を聞かせていただきありがとうございました。イムティアッツさんに質問なんですけれども、こうした活動をするにあたってですね、やっぱり政府の、支援というのは非常に大きいという話で、今の橋名首相の政権が非常にテロ対策に前向きだというところあると思うんですけれども、逆に野党とかですね、あとイスラム系保守派の人たちはこういう活動をどう見てらっしゃるのか、それが将来の、現在の活動の障害になるような恐れはないのか、その点についてお話聞きたいと思います。以上です。
ありがとうございます。じゃあ続きましてもう一方、挙手いただいた方にマイクお願いします。
金沢大学の佐々木と言います。貴重なお話ありがとうございました。私も過激化の研究というのをしておりまして、非常に興味深く聞かせていただきました。私の質問はイスラムさんへの質問なんですけど、脱過激化の中で回復していくプロセスなんですが、これはあまりいろんな方が回復していくプロセスで個人差がかなりあるのかないのかというのを聞きたいんですが、みんなが大体多様性を受け入れて、やっぱ自分は間違っていたというふうな形で、何か平和を愛するようになって、回復をしていくのか、それとも元の考え方はあまり変わらないけれども、暴力はもうちょっといいやという形で、そういう形の回復もあるのかといった、ちょっとそこの点が少し知りたいなと思ったので質問させていただきます。よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。今のご質問はいわゆるディラディカライゼーションかデ ディスエンゲージメントかっていうようなご出席かと思いました。もしもう一方いらっしゃればご質問どうぞ。後ろの方。
ありがとうございます。国際協力機構の岡田と申します。いくつかの国の刑務所ではすみません、この脱過激化のプロセスの対象者は、刑務所に入った方も多いかと思うんですけれども、いくつかの国では刑務所で元テロリストがすし詰めにされることで、彼らの間で過激化が、さらに加速してしまうという現象が指摘されているかと思うんですけれども、バングラでも同じような現象はありますでしょうか。そしてその刑務所の中での過激化のプロセスがあるとしたらば、この脱過激化のプロセスとコンフリクトが生じていると感じることはありますか。
ありがとうございました。そうしましたら、今回はサイドルイスラムさんから順番に、ミミさん、最後イムティアズ先生という形で、今まで務先生からのご質問と、そしてお三方からのご質問に対するお答えをいただいてもよろしいでしょうか。
I will try to keep it as short as possible. While I was listening to the doctor, I really wish that if the presentation was like 3 hours long, much of the things would have been included by then. But of course, yes, of course, mind is almost never got blank in most cases. So I would say whenever someone get imprisoned or got somewhere arrested with the charge of any crime, particularly like radicalization, that's something that they feel like that stay with them. And this is something very lost to them, as because people around them keeping their distance, and they feel like time has frozen and they belong to that. But still mind, I would say the idea of self is a continuum, evolving. So of course, we need to work with those different thoughts. There are even dichotomous thoughts as well, correctly. There are, now, we very much focus on the regaining themselves before they were actually radicalized. We take different concepts from cognitive behavior therapy and existentialism and humanism as well. We try to combine all of it. And being optimism is a very crucial steps bringing the changes. So this is very primary. Our intervention start one of the thing with installing hope. And of course, societal, family, and employment inclusion is very important. But I think Dr. Imtiaz sir will address this in further. And discrimination issue, I will let for Dr. Imtiaz sir. Yes, Bangladesh is highly dense and populous country. I would say that there are too many people, and bringing any social change is very, very difficult. But of course, we have a plan on it, and it's not just de-radicalization, it's also about counter-radicalization as well, and bringing the plurality. So the work is in pipeline, I believe. Dr. Imtiaz will address further, I believe, on that thing. While we're trying to bring in the change in the society, in the meantime, we can work with the individual. This is the least, at least we can do. So we work with their emotional management, problem solving, and other skills. For that, we bring some tools from dialectical behavior therapy so that they can manage their distress. I really wish if I could have more time to elaborate, but I need to stop. I mean, time is running. Natural recovery is a process, interesting. That's also probably, let me say, if I have more time at the end, probably I will address that. Now to address the question from the audience is, yes, so would we say a person, so-called the normal person, when they go to this violent extremism, there are like different stages. They become more fundamentalized, radicalized, engaged, and affiliated. That implies that their ideology got changed, their thinking got changed, and also they become more active to act on their thought, and also they are affiliated with those organizations. So we actually get different goal set. First, of course, getting de-affiliation. from any terrorist outfit and then get de-engaged, then de-radicalize, and of course, then we will promote the diversity and plurality. Not all of the individual, who go through this, who going through the recovery, have, I would say, very pluralistic mind. Sometimes people have still very fundamental idea from the religion, but they believe that they wouldn't act, they shouldn't act on violence, or they some way feel that the violence texts in their religion are controversial and they're not gonna follow that. So of course there are people who are different different recovery stages, and depending on their stages, we plan the next things for them. And of course, prison-based radicalization is a global phenomena, and Bangladesh is no different. We are very much aware and working on the prison-based radicalization, to counter prison-based radicalization as well. We hope some other day probably we'll be able to discuss the strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for using the word recovery. Yes, we need to think more, of course. And yeah, it's very right that individuals always not make the environment make individuals, but individuals are the part of the society, so I think both the way we need to give the effort. We are still learning, we will continue learning, and need to innovate more ways to reach our goal. And of course, we will face more challenges as the radicalized people are always active. So I think we could work with a sample group, work on a sample group for some period, for a long period, to discover things more. I'm not a researcher, I'm just a cultural activist who loves cultural activity, and I work to communicate with children. So I think we should also take another route to prevent things. Because I saw from my experience that in the childhood, they're washing their brain. So it needs to prevent in their childhood. So I'm running a little small cultural center where I work with a group of children. I'm just mentioning a case study. Parent came, the father came with one son and one daughter. They're very little, you know. The girl is just to appear to the school. And the son is already admitted to the madrasa, the Islamic Institute. And we have a combined curriculum in our center where children can dance, learn music, sing, paint, all together, do theater, recitation. It's a combined curriculum. So the father came to me and said that, listen, I want to send my children to you, but they'll only learn how to draw, or only painting, nothing else, art and craft, only art and craft. Then I said, sir, this is a combined curriculum, so they have to learn everything, or they have to participate in every subject. Then he said, no, my son, he's in madrasa, so I don't want him to learn music or learn dance. So I said, then don't send them. Even he sent his children. And now it's another problem we are facing, that the father came and saying, my children, they started loving dance, they started loving music, I need to stop them. Okay, and so please allow a separate art class for them in the morning. So see how actually society behave differently. So I think I'm very much happy to be in this team, but I really want to, work for children to prevent them. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions and comments. Good that you raised this issue of agency and structure, because this has been a philosophical problem for the structuralists and also for the post-structuralists. How do you combine, and where to start? I don't think you can lean to one and avoid the other, because it's a dialectic you need to work on. And the problem is a child is not fresh. The mind is not fresh. We think that the brain is fresh. It's not. And I lean on psychologist Carl Gustav Jung to get that sense, because he talks about the archetypes and the collective unconscious in the mind. We all learn from generation to generation, not that everything we have to learn. And the brain is not pure. The brain carries the love and the hate and the wisdom of the grand generations. And it stays with us. And that's the problem. And problem is, if the child's grandparents were very angry, the chances are the grandson can also turn out to be very angry. And that is where I think the mind has to be addressed in some form. Because we don't learn everything. There are certain things. Just to give an example, if a tiger now enters this room, we all know what to do. We don't have to look into the laptop or ask Miss Maho, what will you do? The tiger has entered. We all know that you have to run, Now, where did we learn this? We learn because sometimes I think the humans and the tigers, they understood they can't live together. They have decided, sorry, we have to, part. So there are certain things that we learn, and it stays in the brain and goes. So when we talk about the structure and agency, we need to be very careful, because the mind also has structures in it. Structures previous, and this is where the collective unconscious comes, and archetypes comes. So it's an interesting debate. I think the way we look into here, or some of the violent, former violent extremists, those who have been released, they face stigma in terms of getting married, marriage, they complain, in even getting job, there is stigma, etc. Now the point is, how do you rectify that? And it's not an easy answer. Sometimes it's on individual basis. Some restaurant or some office will say, okay, we'll take you, hire you, but some will say, no, you are terrifying, we'll not hire you. So I think we can't have an exact answer to all these things. We just need to keep on pushing at the individual level and also at the environmental level, and that's how we build a society. Because building an inclusive society is easy to say theoretically, but is very difficult to push forward in practice. Very quickly, on the question that was asked to me about government of Bangladesh support and Hasina zero tolerance, and whether that gets complicated with conservative forces. Of course it does. Of course it does. But the good parts of Bangladesh and Bengal is highly tolerant society, immensely tolerant society. There's 170 million people. We are the 7th or 8th largest country in the world. And as a 7th and 8th largest country in the world, if you look at the violence, and this is something we map, our center maps violence. We have the largest data on violence on 26 categories. We have data of over 13 years data, and it's open to all of you to go and access. You just have to Google Bangladesh Peace Observatory, and you can enter and you can yourself look into the data. It's an open source data which the UNDP helped us build over the years. So looking into that data, it's a highly tolerant society, because don't forget, even within Islam, the Sufi tradition is very much present in Bengal. It's a highly sophistic country. Our language also is highly sophistic in terms of tolerance. Even when we go out, we tell our parents that we are coming. We can't say we go out because immediately the mother says, no, you can't, you have to say you are coming. So the language also it's interesting in a quite an extraordinary way, has this tolerance, Sufi principles inbuilt. And that's the reason the fundamentalist forces, and if I can, even bring Jamaat Islam and look into the statistics of elections where they participated. They never got more than 6% votes, never, in all the elections that they participated. Only one election, only one national election, there is an exception, and that they got 8%, but in that election, they had a kind of below the radar or tacit alliance with Awami League. That was the only time when they had a tacit alliance with Awami League. And I said tacit because the Awami League will say, no, we never do that. But as a researcher, I can tell you there was a tacit alliance with Awami League. That time only they got 8% vote. They never got more than 6%, and they will never get vote. There is a limitation in the South Asian context, and particularly of Bengal, I would say, of taking violence to the stream. It's not in the cultural and literally in the physical sense of the word. You can't take it farther. You can do certain things. Yes, there were holy artisan incident, but look at the number of quote-unquote holy artisan you have in the United States. And I can give you one or two statistics. Every what you call probably every I think it was before every 1.5 months they had one terrorist or mass killing in schools alone. Every day, and I'm giving you last year's statistics, every day in the United States 124 people were shot and killed every day. And out of that 124 killed, if I'm not wrong, 19 were children. Now, if that is not violence, then what is violence? What is extremism? So we have to be very, if you look at the data of Bangladesh data, the evidence will not tell you that the conservatism is in the rise. I will definitely dispute that because the evidence would not suggest. Yes, there are intolerant people. Yes, there are people who are committing violence. But if you look into 170 million people, in 55,000 square miles, I have to say the tolerance has been very key. But this little bit of intolerance, we need to start a journey from where you can make a bigger contribution not only to Bangladesh and the region, but to the world. Because as I say, this is a global phenomenon that's taking place. And this is where I think the collaboration with Sasakawa Peace Foundation and some of the Asian values that are coming up, some of the indigenous way of looking into method, I think there is a possibility of creating a knowledge, of creating epistemologies, which I'm sure would help the world in the coming future. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Dr. Imtiaz, what about the question from the audience about how the opposition party will look at your initiative?
Yeah,
de-radicalization.
Well, I thought I answered again, but let me, yes, I don't see a scenario of the stream fundamentalist forces coming to power. Yes, they will create problems, etc. But there are inner structures which will limit them becoming too singular. Singularity is not, civilizationally, if you look at Bengal civilization, and it's a very old civilization. It can go back to 6th century BC, boom, inward in a second. And as an old civilization, you can't take it very far. I'll just give you one one or two incidents. Back in 1947, the South Asia got divided, or India got divided, well, largely because of the British policy of divide and rule. Now that was 1947, but look, from 1947, 1971, immediately, the whole idea of this two-nation theory based on religion was, literally, it went away and said that it really doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, language became an issue. And as you know, Bengali language, the 21st February, etc., people getting killed, etc. But then the Bangladeshis, after getting independence and after looking into that language scenario, say, no, let 21st of February be an international language day, not only Bangladesh's mother language day, but let it be an international mother language day. And it is now celebrated as International Mother Language Day, largely because some Bangladeshis came up and said it just can't be limited to Bangladesh. So this Bengal's tradition of collaborating with the world has always been there. And that's the reason we suffered a lot, Of course, we invited everyone. Don't forget, the Turks and the Afghans, they ruled Bengal for over 300 years. Some would say 500 years. The Mughals, if you take the Mughals, Bengal was under Afghan and Turks and the Mughal rule for 500 years. But they came, but they settled, they married, they stayed here. The only difference with the British was they came and they took everything to the British Museum. That's the difference, So they stayed for 200 years. And that is something, we have to keep in mind, because the British entered South Asia through Bengal. We allowed them. We thought they would be the same as the Afghans and the Turks, but they overstayed. That was okay. Overstaying is no problem, but they overstayed and took everything to British Museum. That was the problem. And the whole production that was there, the Dhaka city, which was the largest cotton manufacturing center back in 18th century. It was the largest center in any way. I'm talking about the cotton industry. But by 20th century, it became impoverished. So looking into history, I'm quite confident that that path of fundamentalism becoming center in Bangladesh, there are limits to it. But as we say, we need to work more on tolerance. And this particular project, I hope, will help in giving far better understanding of what Islam and the religion is all about, and what tolerance is all about. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。まだ何時間でもお話を伺いたいところですが、すみません、18分になってしまいました。ありがとうございます。私たち笹川平和財団では、今お話がありましたような脱過激化という概念上の問題、概念がはらむ問題については意識的にありたいと思いながらも、バングラデシュについては現在受刑者に対する、元受刑者と受刑者に対するカウンセリングが中心になっておりますので、これからコミュニティでの社会復帰をどういうふうにやっていくのかという事業をサポート、現場の方々と議論していきたいと思っておりますし、またこれ以外にもそのアジアの中で私たちが脱過激化、かっこつきの脱過激化でできることがあるのか検討していきたいと思っております。今日は遅くまでお付き合いいただきましてどうもありがとうございました。 いました。ご登壇者の皆様にどうか盛大な拍手をお願いいたします。ありがとうございました。
長時間にわたりましてご参加いただきありがとうございました。以上をもちまして本日のセミナーを終了いたします。ご退場の際はお忘れ物にご注意ください。同時通訳レシーバーは出口にて回収いたしますのでご返却をお願いいたします。後日アンケートのお願いをメールにてお送りいたしますのでぜひご協力ください。改めまして本日は長時間にわたりご参加いただき誠にありがとうございました。お気をつけてお帰りくださいませ。